Good morning, church family. It is a joy to be here. It's a joy to see you here today. My wife leaned over at the beginning of service and she said, "You need to step on people's toes more often." Last week I stepped on people's toes and more people showed up this week, and I don't think I had much to do with that, to be honest, but I'll take credit for it, even if I can't take credit for it. I want to apologize. I totally forgot something that I meant to mention this week. Lori and I figured out the trick for this communion cup. We figured it out. We have mastered it. And she was even trying to help Ryan here, who was not mastering it. If you missed, that was quite a sight to see. Thanks, Ryan, for that. It won't do any good to mention it this week because all of us will forget by next week, just like we do my sermons. It's totally fine. So next week, I will make sure, help me remember, make sure that before communion, we will give you the little trick to help master that little cup. Okay, that's my announcement. That's my thing. You know, past few weeks, we have been talking about this whole idea of whether we like Jesus or whether we are like Jesus. And there's a huge difference. Too many people have settled for what our culture considers Christianity. And it's sad to say that what our culture considers Christianity doesn't have much to do with Christ. And we can settle for that in our churches, that we have this idea that we can be a Christian and still look nothing like Christ. But that is not our goal. Our goal is to be like Jesus. That's what our hope is. In our church family here, it's not our goal just to get a lot of people inside a room who like Jesus. That is not the win for this church family. The win is for us to gather to encourage one another in our growth to be more like Jesus so that we can go out into this world and literally be Jesus for our communities. That's our win. Well, our win is whenever we make disciples of each other. And every one of us is truly a disciple of Christ. Now, we have talked about the 4 core values of a disciple. We talked about that last year. Rusty pointed over here to this banner that's been up here for about a year. I'm going to put the original circle that we talked about it from last year up on the screen. And we have these 4 core values, and one of the things that I want you to know is that in all 4 of these, we know that each one of us gravitates toward growth in one of these areas. We find it a little bit more natural, a little bit easier, and we can convince ourselves that growing in just that one area will make us more like Christ. And there's truth to that, but Christ wants us to grow in all 4 areas. So as we highlight one of the aspects this year, we don't want to forget the other 3 because all of them are needed for us in our growth. So for 2022, we are going to be highlighting this understanding of helping. What does it look like to help? What does it mean to help? You see, as a church family, we have so many opportunities to help. The way that Scripture would often talk about this is serving, to serve one another. Matthew 20:28, for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. If we want to be like Jesus, we need to serve like Jesus. He came not to be served, but to serve. And followers of Jesus ought to be doing the same. Now, you may be thinking, I don't know where to serve. I don't know how to help. I don't have many gifts. I don't have strengths. I don't know where I can fit in. Here's the thing. That's just ignorance. That's not reality. And that ignorance is okay. We can help with ignorance as long as you're willing to learn about yourself and what you might be gifted in, because here's the thing. Every one of us has been gifted in ways to help and serve in the kingdom of God. 1 Peter 4:10, God has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. We all have gifts. Scripture says so. God created you, whenever He breathed life into you, He gave you uniqueness. And in this uniqueness, He gave you giftedness. And in this giftedness, He has an expectation that you will use the gift to help others. But all too often what we end up doing is we use our gifts to help ourselves. And that's whenever our gifts dwindle. Our gifts don't grow whenever they're self-serving. Our gifts only grow when we are using them to serve others. And so our goal is to help others, to serve others. That means this is our purpose. This means we are going to have to roll up our sleeves and help others. We're going to have to figure out ways of what this looks like and what this means to help others. And we're going to want to provide opportunities in order to help others. You getting the point? That we really want you to start helping others. Sometimes our help is directly to a person. Sometimes we know exactly what's going on and what they need, and so we directly help them. Sometimes our help is indirect. And indirect helping is sometimes we give financially, we give of our money into some sort of budget, Western Heights General Fund budget that is then allocated into certain areas that are meant to help others. So sometimes it's direct, sometimes it's indirect. The thing is, there is no one way to help people. There are hundreds and thousands and probably millions of ways to help others. And we just want to encourage you to be in the process of helping others. So this morning, we want to give you a small picture of what Western Heights is striving to do. This small picture is part of a longer process that Rusty was talking about. We are planning a longer range vision to become a disciple-making church. And so this year, we're going to focus on and highlight the one aspect of helping. And so we're going to have a small conversation about what that looks like. And to understand that, we need to talk a little bit about how we're doing financially. And then we need to highlight a few of our ministries to tell you and just give you a taste of what it can look like. And so to help me out this morning, Bob Crocker, one of our elders, is going to come, and he's going to present part of that picture. And then we will come back together and present more of that picture. So Bob, come on up.
Good morning. Last Sunday, our Financial Peace University class had their first lesson. And by the way, it meets at 2 o'clock. This Sunday afternoon, this week's lesson is going to be about getting out of debt. You're welcome to sit in and see if you like the class and see what you can learn from it. So 2 o'clock this afternoon. Now, last week's lesson was about budgeting, which is what we're working on here today. And we have some similar challenges in our personal budgets and with the budget here at the congregation. We want to avoid debt. We want to have some savings for a rainy day. Don't spend more than you make. Now to do that, you have to have a pretty good idea of, what you're making and what you need, what kinds of things you need to spend money on. Like at home, some of our income can be reasonably well planned. Like salary, and that's a pretty stable item. Likewise, the congregation has regular contributions. That there's a rhythm there that we can expect and plan for. But at home, you also have maybe a commission or bonuses or a raise or something that happens during the year. We also have special contributions that help fund particular items like our disaster relief team, our missions. Those are things that are funded out of our special contributions. Now on the expense side, at home, you know what your expenses are. You've got your power bill, your mortgage, groceries, things like that. But some are harder to plan for. Things that wear out and have to be replaced or repaired. And we have the same variable things that happen here also. In 2021, last year, COVID made it a bit more of a challenge than usual in trying to figure out what we might be able to plan for, what we needed to be able to spend for, and what we would have available to spend. So we expected a hard-to-predict year. Well, we got it. We had some increased expenses due to COVID. We had additional benevolence expenses and some audiovisual tools and communion supplies, things like that. We also had some offsets from it too, though. We didn't have it, we tried to do less touch things. So we don't have as many things printed and handed out, and we had some, didn't get to meet for some of our classrooms. So for some periods we had less classroom supplies and less water and things that people would use while they're up here. We also had some decreases due to good planning. Things like our credit card processing fees went down. So thank you, Lori and Mitch, for getting that in place, looking for ways that we can continue to do our missions without wasting money. However, we only had a few other increases that kind of tilted the balance. That was we had some equipment we had to replace in the office. We had heating and air conditioning, had a significant expense on a piece of equipment there. And then, remember what happened last February? It snowed, and it got cold. And we had a power bill that was the amount of the whole yearly budget for the power bill. So, that's just, things happen during the course of the year, and we have to figure out how to deal with it. So that was, the kind of expenses that we had last year. Now, what kind of income did we work with? Well, at the beginning of the year, we were questioning a little bit. COVID's still going around, that people might, things might be shut down, people might not be able to work, or they might be quarantined, or they might just not be able to contribute in the way they would want to. But, when the year started out, that looked like that might be true. But even when people couldn't be here and when things were all in flux, you gave. Thank you. And, as the year went on and things kind of cleared up and things got better, and we had some additional contributions come in. Thank you again. Appreciate it. And then when we had things like special offerings, we had disaster relief for tornado last month. We had a special good works project. We were working on a house. We had our missions project. You gave again. Thank you. You responded very well. So we appreciate your stewardship and your faithfulness in planning for and supporting the work of this congregation. So, how are we doing? Well, we're doing quite well. We did overspend our 2021 budget, but you gave more than enough to make up. You gave more than we budgeted also. So here on the left side of this, you can see that in our actual versus budget, thank you so much, because we had to wait and see what happened, and what happened was people stepped up and helped. So thank you very much. We are doing so overall, when 2021 was all done, we've been blessed individually and as a congregation. We are coming out of this okay. On the right side is the 21 versus 22. Now, notice that we're planning on the regular contribution to be a bit higher than budgeted before. Now, we're budgeting conservatively, but we're hoping that you'll surprise us again, that we'll continue to exceed that. Now, special contributions are a special case. Now, it looks a bit lower, the kind of orange area does, but special contributions are by their nature event-driven. So when something happens, when a tornado happens or when a special need arises, that's when those things come forward. So we fully expect there will be things happen that will spend, we'll have events happen and we'll need money and we'll come to you for you, and that you'll bless us with that when the need arises. So don't be thinking that because it's lower, we're not going to spend much there. Probably something will happen. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so in 2022, what will this giving make possible? Well, I've tried to show this by breaking out the same core values of discipleship. And just from a budget point of view, not all the actions go into it, but from a budget point of view, worship includes things like having the song licenses, having communion cups, AV gear, things like that, are things we spend money on there. Our help, we're going to talk about several different areas of help in a moment, so I'm going to save that one for later. And then in communicate, we are teaching and converting is what we're doing in communicate. In cultivate, we're helping us grow as a congregation and to grow as individuals. So the last two items, communicate and cultivate, things like we have classroom supplies, ministry expenses, training expenses, all those kind of things are things we actually spend money on there. So we, workroom supplies, curriculum, those kind of things all fall in there. Now the common one is things that touch all categories. That's especially things like facilities, insurance, staff, supplies for the building and things like that. They work across all those areas. So I didn't try to break them out into separate ones because it's really kind of hard to allocate, but they're necessary for and support each one of them. Okay. There are summaries of the budget available on the tables at the back as you walk out. So if you want to pick up a copy and look at some of the details and see, and see if you have any other questions, feel free to ask and feel free to get yourself a copy. Now, with all this focus on what money we're spending, I want you to recognize there's a more important piece here, and that is that we need people more than we need money. Because everything we do here depends on the involvement of individuals. Yeah, it's necessary to have money to do some of the things we choose to do, but if we didn't have we didn't have volunteers, then nothing could be done. I mean, even doing benevolence, we want to help give lodging and food to those who need it. Well, without someone to organize that, to find the resources that they need, to get them delivered to the right spot, it wouldn't work. It takes people to do everything. And so we need you. We need people to help with benevolence. We need people to help with the good works team. We need teachers. We need counselors and people who will visit others. We need people to go on mission trips and disaster response trips. We need cooks. We need people to organize our fellowship opportunities, our times where we get together and enjoy getting close to one another. In short, in 2022, Western Heights is going to focus on helping people, and we need each of you to be part of that. So how are some ways we can help?
So, now which way am I? I'm on now. I got confused which slider goes which way. I don't know. The thing is, there are multiple opportunities to get involved, and I'm excited about what we're going to see from the congregation, because I'm with Bob in conversations in the elders and ministers meetings and things like that, that more often than not we are honestly surprised, maybe not the right word, just in awe. We are of the gratitude, generosity, and just the willingness of this congregation to jump in and help whenever needs be. And so the thing is, we want to encourage one another to continue in this. We want to encourage each other into good works, and we want to encourage your discipleship through helping. And so we want to provide those opportunities where you can help. Ideally, we want this to be something so natural for you that you don't need the church to be organizing things. You're just moving forward in it. That would be wonderful. But until we get to that day, we will help each other along this path. So we have a few ministries we want to highlight. Some ministries are already tooled to be helping others. They are obvious and clear. Some are being retooled into how we can help and encourage others through the process. So I want to focus first on benevolence. Oftentimes when people need help, what we get it from the community is through what we call benevolence, our benevolence ministry. Someone will call the church office, and usually this is something that happens daily, that someone is saying, hey, I need some help, and whatever that help might be. And what we've often done with this is we take a portion of the general fund that you have given to the Western Heights, put it into our budget, and a portion of that budget goes to the benevolence. And we've asked Frank Brown and the team to help organize this benevolence ministry. And so in some ways, each one of us who give to the budget are by indirect route, we are helping in benevolence. And that's wonderful and that's good, and we're going to continue in that. But the benevolence ministry is working on ways to get more hands on deck. They are working on opportunities in order to invite you into actual hands-on benevolent works. And so we're going to have more information about that. I'm excited about something that they're planning in April, end of April, of what that is going to look like, but we're going to not spend our time here talking about that. We're going to give it justice and talk about it later. I just want you to know this is an area in which you're going to be able to have some opportunity to help.
Sometimes people need help with like moving or fixing something at their house. They need a helping hand. And so we have a helping hand ministry or a good works ministry that seeks to help to step in those needs and help fulfill them. So if there are things that you're not physically or financially able to take care of, we would like to know about it so that we can come up and the people who want to help in that way, who have the skills and time, they want to help. And so we'd like people to be part of that ministry, and we'd like you to let us know what we can do for you.
And contrary to what the pictures may see, it's not all construction work. Okay, although the pictures kind of look like that, that is a part of it. But a lot of the helping hands is literally just anything. It can be some moving. It can be, hey, I need help setting up my internet. I need, a DVD player, anything to that effect. That ministry can really help in those areas. So another one of the things that we have developed a relationship over the past few years is with our schools. And last year, there were several things that happened in which we were really able to have some opportunities to develop a relationship with the school that is literally closest to us. Henry SORY Elementary. If you're not sure exactly where that is, it's a stone's throw, but it would take a really strong arm and a really small stone to hit it. But I think my wife could do it. She was a pitcher. She could probably do it. But it's that way, and it is one of our closest schools. And some things happened that we were able to develop more of a relationship, and in that relationship, provide opportunities to serve those students, but especially those teachers and the administration, because let's be honest, it has not been an easy few years on our schools, and they need all the encouragement they can. And so our Wednesday night ladies class that meets has been spearheading an effort to be involved in that school specifically. What you see is a picture of some of the fruits of their labor that they put in the teacher's workroom for them to enjoy some snacks and just know that they're loved. But also they are working on opportunities to volunteer, to go in and read to students or to help out in any way possible, because our schools are really struggling and need this. So more information will come about ways for you to get involved in this ministry and this wonderful effort that we have in our own backyard.
As we saw in December, a tornado hit Kentucky, and our disaster relief team worked on putting a response together with that. Now, we work with a national organization to help support that. Now, we did not get to go on that particular trip, but we have people who are ready to help. We have equipment that has been donated over the years that we've collected that is what we'll use for these kind of things. Usually tornado floods, something on that scale. Sometimes just something tree down or something like that we can on a smaller scale help with. A lot of this is hard physical work. It's getting out and getting messy and getting sweaty. But other parts are lighter work. There's cleaning up things. There's the volunteers, need food. There's organizing and helping preparing the food and cleaning up. There's one of the things we really need people to help with is to go and just counsel. A lot of the time, these disaster victims just need someone to hear their story and to both sympathize with them and to give them hope that, hey, there are people here that they're not just rushing around doing stuff. They're also taking time to listen to you and connect with you. So we need people, all scales to help with things like this.
To be honest, that's kind of what I end up doing because I'm lazy. I let other people do the hard work and I go talk to the people. It works out for everyone. It's fantastic. Oh, okay. Maybe not the only reason on that, but you were about to say something else, Bob. I cut you off.
Just other than that, we don't know when these kind of things happen.
That's right.
And so we try to be prepared, and we ask you to be ready with your plan ahead. That can you take a little time off, or can you make it work so that you can be ready when an opportunity or the need arises.
That's right. So another one that we want to mention is in outreach. And Nathan and Carl will kill me for putting that picture up there, but I think that's well worth it. Those are two guys that are in charge of our outreach ministry, our outreach deacons here. And outreach kind of is there to serve in creating opportunities for us to share Jesus with others. And to be honest, we're going to be talking more about what outreach efforts next year whenever we really focus and communicate and some of those things. But as we began to look at different ideas on how do we help people, it didn't take us very long to look out the window and see all the growth in our neighborhood, all these houses being built literally in our neighborhood. That for over 20 years, 30 years, approaching that, we have kind of been isolated out on this hill, and the community has been at an arm's distance. No longer the case. And we might be getting more and more coming back here. We don't know what all's going on, but what we do know is that we have an opportunity in front of us. That we as a church family, some of the most simple things of helping one another is the aspect that we all learn from Mr. Rogers. Well, most of us learn from Mr. Rogers. Is will you be my neighbor? How to be a good neighbor. And so outreach is spearheading some efforts in order to get us literally going into our neighborhood and asking that simple question. Saying, look, we are neighbors whether we like it or not. That's probably not the best foot forward, all right? But to say we are in the neighborhood, we are your friendly neighborhood church. Doesn't have the same ring as Spider-Man, but come on, it's close. But we are here, and we want to be a good neighbor. So whatever comes up, let us know as you would your neighbor. And let's get to know one another as neighbors. So they are spearheading some efforts of what that might look like for us to truly be good neighbors to the community, to our surrounding community. And maybe that will affect how we are good neighbors in our own communities where you live, wherever that may be. The last ministry that we want to highlight, that we want to focus on, is related to the understanding of the growth coming in the Sherman that has already been coming and is in projection to come. We know the stats. We know that Sherman is growing, and it's been growing at a rate for a while, and then the past year has shown us that it's an exponential growth all of a sudden for the future years. Sherman is growing. That means that Western Heights should be growing too. But the only way Western Heights is going to grow is if we prepare for that growth. And one of the areas that we know a lot of people look at whenever they are looking for a church home is they are asking the question, how do you take care of and invest in the next generation? How are you taking care of the kids? I'm going to be honest, we've had a pretty good children's program for years. We've had things like VBS, and we've had our Bible classes, and we've had different events that go on that invest in our kids. But if I'm also being honest, there's so much more that we could and should be doing for our children's ministry. Here's the thing. We don't know what this looks like. This is not a budgeted item. This is going to be an above and beyond any kind of budget, because this is a beginning of conversation, and we want to invite y'all to the conversation. We don't know if this means that we just need to retool some things and figure out a few ways of working with this that we might need to invest in. We don't know if it's hiring a children's minister. If that's the answer, the thing is, we have questions and we need to figure out some answers if we are going to be the community, what this community needs from its church family. And so we're hoping to answer that question. If you have thoughts and if you have things, we want to invite you into that. Talk to the elders, talk to the ministers, talk to any one of us, and we will be putting together some sort of think tank to figure this out in order that we can bless the next generation to grow up as a disciple of Christ.
We know that people are moving to the area. We know that means families are coming, kids are coming. So we're looking at ways to how do we connect with those families, and including their younger children. Agreed.
So the opportunities are rich. I hope that's the thing that you've heard, is that you have given above and beyond from what we thought last year, and so the budget is being shifted accordingly, with still a measure of faith and a measure of hope that it will go even more. And then there's all these ministries that you can get involved in, and every one of these things requires not just your donation, it requires your involvement. And we want all hands on deck, because if we are going to be followers of Jesus that God desires in our community and everywhere we go, we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and we're going to have to serve like Jesus did. We see Jesus taking off his nice clothes, picking up a basin of water and a towel and rolling up his sleeves and washing disciples' feet. We see him touching the lepers. We see him healing and being in conversation with and forgiving and redeeming everyone that he came across. It wasn't a select few. It wasn't just the ones that were already cleaned up and dressed up themselves. Jesus was getting in the dirt with the people. The adulterous woman story shows us that. All of us are needed in this ministry. Everybody is going to be needed, because it will take the whole body of Christ to help like we are called to do so. Romans 12, starting verse 6, says this: "In His grace, God has given us gifts for doing certain things well. So if God has given you the ability to prophesy, speak with as much faith as God has given you. If your gift is serving others, serve them well. If you are a teacher, teach well. If your gift is encouraging others, be encouraging. If it is giving, give generously. If God has given you the leadership ability, take that responsibility seriously. And if you have the gift of showing kindness to others, do it gladly." Here's the summation, though, and I like verse 9. Don't just pretend to love others, really love them. And that's a funny little line to me, because you're like, Paul, you've been talking about using the gifts, and whatever gift you have, use it. And the thing is, the temptation that we have is to either hoard our gifts, or it's to use our gifts for our own self-interest. And Paul's like, no, this is not how that works. Use your gifts to really love others. So let's, Western Heights family, let's really love others. Let's get in their lives so that we know what they need, so that we can step in and help them. And this morning, as we close up this time of our sermon, in this time of our worship service, I want you to know that if you have any needs, we welcome those being made known before us. The elders, ministers will surround this auditorium, or look to your neighbor. If they're the one sitting beside you, maybe they can help. Just let us know. Because too often what happens is we don't ask for help, and then we get upset when no one offers help. If we don't know to help, how can we step in and help? We need to raise our awareness with our community. We need to raise our awareness with one another. And so I'm going to invite you that if you need anything, if you need some love from this congregation that this congregation can offer you, if you need some help that we can offer you, I want you to know this is a safe place to ask. So if you have any need, would you let it be known as we stand and sing together?